Rain streaked the windows of the realtor's office in downtown Seattle, the city's gray pulse humming outside. Ann Harper, 31, sat at a polished desk, her heart pounding as she gripped a pen over the contract for her dream home. The modest two-bedroom house in Monroe, with its pine-lined yard and quiet garden, was everything she'd saved for over 7 years. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Another text from her sister Vanessa. "Don't buy anything without talking to me first." Anne's jaw tightened. She'd spent a lifetime in Vanessa's shadow, her frugal discipline mocked by a family who assumed her success was theirs to claim. The realtor, a kind woman with a clipboard, smiled. "Ready?" Anne nodded, signing her name in steady strokes. She was choosing herself, no matter what her family thought. The ink dried, but the storm was just beginning. A storm named Harper. Seattle's drizzle soaked Anne's coat as she stepped outside, the contract tucked safely in her bag. At 31, she was a financial advisor at a respected investment firm, her life a masterclass in restraint. No lavish dinners, no impulse buys, no debt. Her colleagues teased that she lived inside a spreadsheet, but Anne didn't care. Every dollar saved was a brick in the foundation of her freedom. She rented a small apartment in the suburbs, owned by her best friend Jenny's parents, who charged half the market rate because they trusted her. Anne loved the quiet, her laptop glowing, a cup of chamomile tea steaming, and a view of trees swaying with the seasons. Her dream was simple: a small house with a garden for herbs, a porch for morning coffee, and weekends spent baking bread. She'd spent nearly a decade building toward it, saying no to fancy vacations for hikes in the Olympic Mountains. No to new cars when her 2010 Honda still ran. People called her an extreme minimalist. She called it the power to choose. Anne was the youngest of two sisters, 4 years behind Vanessa, 35, the family's golden star. If Anne's childhood was a forgotten notebook in a dusty drawer, Vanessa's was a glossy magazine on the coffee table. Bright, celebrated, cherished. Vanessa's golden hair, dazzling smile, and commanding voice stole every room. Their parents, Robert and Diane Harper, never admitted their favoritism, but it coated every decision like varnish. Vanessa got the first bike, a European gap year, a high school graduation party fit for a wedding. Anne got a quiet dinner and a good job toast. Vanessa married Nathan, a civil engineer, a year after college. They had two kids, Ellie, 8, and Brandon, 5, and lived in a cramped downtown apartment where traffic noise and rent complaints were constant. At family gatherings, Vanessa bemoaned her exhaustion, the kids' lack of space, in Seattle's relentless cost of living. Anne never compared, but the contrast was stark. Vanessa's chaos against Anne's calm stability. Anne's discipline was her shield. She worked remotely since the pandemic, her apartment a sanctuary of finance books and soft light. She'd saved meticulously, housing, investment, emergency accounts, each a step toward her dream. But her family's expectations loomed like a shadow. Last Sunday at her parents' house for dinner, Anne scrolled through property listings while waiting for dessert. A wooden house with a sunlit garden caught her eye, and she smiled. "What's got you grinning?" Vanessa asked, setting down her iced tea. Anne hesitated, then spoke. "I'm house hunting, planning to buy next month." The table went silent, forks pausing midair. Her mother, Diane, set her plate down with a clink. "Buying a house by yourself?" Anne nodded, steady. "I've saved for 7 years. It's my money, no debt." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "I'm not saying you can't, but a house should have space for family, not just you living like a hermit." Anne frowned. "Who's family here?" No one answered, but the glances between Diane and Vanessa churned her stomach. The next night, as Anne prepared mortgage documents, her phone pinged. Her mother. "Talked to Karen at church. Found a 4-bedroom in Cedar Ridge. Big backyard for kids. Link below. Then Vanessa. Check this out. Great schools, supermarket nearby, home office. We could visit more if you got it. Anne stared at the listing. A sprawling house with a chef's kitchen, 2 garages. She replied, "Thanks, but I want something smaller, quieter." Vanessa's response was one word, "Why?" 3 days later, during lunch, Diane called, voice bubbling. "Sweetie, the Maple Street house, 4 bedrooms, balcony, slash price. Perfect for kids. You've got to see it." Anne closed her eyes. "Mom, I don't need space for kids. I'm not planning roommates." Diane pushed. "You'll want them someday. And Vanessa's kids need space. That apartment's suffocating." The pieces clicked. The hints, the listings, the glances. They didn't want Anne to buy a house. They wanted her to buy their house. Anne's chest tightened. She'd never blamed her parents for favoring Vanessa, but their assumption that her hard-earned dreams should serve their golden child cut deep. Growing up, Vanessa got dance lessons. Anne got math tutoring. Vanessa got a new Jeep. Anne got a used Civic. Vanessa's college was fully funded. Anne worked 30 hours a week to afford community college. Now, when she'd built something for herself, they saw it as theirs to claim. At the next family dinner, Anne planned to stay quiet, but the pressure boiled over. Vanessa slid her phone across the table, showing another listing. "This one's perfect, Anne. 5 bedrooms near Ellie's school." Anne pushed the phone back. "I'm not buying a mansion for your family," Diane gasped. "Anne, don't be selfish. Family helps family." Robert, her father, leaned forward, voice low. "You're stable, Anne. Vanessa's struggling. It's what we do." Anne's hands shook. "What about what I want? I've saved for years for a home that's mine." Vanessa scoffed. "You live alone, work from home. You don't need a big place. We do." The room felt like it was closing in. Then Vanessa's voice turned sharp. "You owe us, Anne. Remember that scholarship you missed in college? I made sure it went to someone who'd actually use it." Anne froze. The scholarship, a full ride to a top university she'd applied for at 18. She'd been devastated when it was awarded to another student, assuming she wasn't good enough. "You... what?" Anne's voice was a whisper. Vanessa shrugged. "You were fine at community college. I needed the family's focus on me." The betrayal hit like a slap. Her parents looked away, complicit in their silence. Anne stood, her chair scraping. "You sabotaged me, and now you think I owe you my dream?" Diane reached out. "Anne, don't overreact." Anne cut her off. "Number, you've planned my life for Vanessa since I was a kid. I'm done." She grabbed her coat and walked out, the door slamming behind her. The Seattle rain soaked her, but she felt lighter than ever. She wouldn't bend. Days later, Anne signed the contract for her Monroe house in secret, a 2-bedroom with a wide porch, raised garden beds, and pine trees whispering in the wind. She told no one except Jenny and her lawyer, scheduling the move for a quiet Monday when her family was busy. The moving truck arrived at dawn, and by noon Anne stood in her new home, sunlight spilling across hardwood floors. For the first time she breathed freely, no demands, no guilt, just her own space. Anne threw herself into her new life. She painted her office sage green, built a trellis for tomatoes, and joined a gardening club led by Grace, a warm woman in her 50s with a lavender garden and a knack for listening. At the first meeting, Anne met Liam, a 32-year-old landscape designer who helped fix her irrigation system. Their conversations about soil, sunlight, and rabbit-proof fences felt easy, free of judgment. Work flourished too. Remote work, untainted by family texts, let Anne focus. She pitched a new financial planning tool to a major client, and it was approved in days, a first. Her manager, Karen, called with a raise and a role training new hires. "You're a star, Anne," she said. Anne smiled, feeling seen not for what she could give, but for who she was. In Monroe, Anne found community. She biked to the farmer's market, chatting with vendors and helping a girl pick onions for her mom's list. The mom invited her to a library book club, and Anne said yes, savoring the freedom to say yes on her terms. She saw Vanessa's posts through mutual friends, cryptic captions about selfish siblings, or photos of Ellie and Brandon in their tiny room, captioned, happy no matter what. Anne scrolled past, her heart steady. She'd stopped needing their approval. One evening, as Anne sorted seed packets, her doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw Vanessa, hair messy, eyes sunken, holding a tote bag. Ellie and Brandon stood behind, clutching books. Anne opened the door, silent. Vanessa's voice was soft, no trace of entitlement. "I wasn't sure I could knock," Ellie piped up. Anne, Mommy said we could see your flowers if we're good." Anne crouched, touching Ellie's head. "I've got white chrysanthemums. Want to see?" They stepped inside, not as guests, but as visitors on fragile ground. Over tea, Vanessa spoke, her voice low. "I thought you'd always take it, like Mom taught us. But you're stronger than me." Anne sipped her tea. "I'm not strong. I'm tired of being your safety net." Vanessa's eyes reddened. "I was wrong to think I could walk into your life without asking." Anne didn't forgive her, but she didn't push her away. The kids explored the garden, their laughter softening the air. 3 weeks later, Anne took Ellie and Brandon to a book fair. Liam was there, leading a kids' art table. Brandon begged for paints, and Ellie settled in like she belonged. Liam grinned at Anne. "They fit right in, huh?" Anne nodded, warmth spreading. Her life was hers, but she could share it on her terms. Then came a surprise. An email from HR. "We're reviewing candidates for the training program. Vanessa Marks listed you as a reference, citing your blog. Everyone deserves a fresh start, but you take the first step." Anne froze. Vanessa had applied for a job, without asking for favors. A note arrived in Ellie's scrawl. Anne, I helped Mommy with her resume. She's trying hard, like you. P.S. More purple flowers?" Anne's chest tightened. Vanessa was changing, not with words, but actions. Weeks later, Vanessa joined the training program at Anne's firm. In the lobby, she nodded, a quiet thank you for teaching her to knock. That night, Liam left oranges and rosemary at Anne's door. No note, just presence. Anne brewed tea, opened her window, and let the scent of basil and pine fill the room. She'd built a life, not for others, but for herself. Anne sat on her porch, Monroe's quiet wrapping around her. Seattle's chaos felt distant, her family's demands a fading echo. She'd spent years seeking their approval, but now she saw it was a trap, hollow, fleeting. Her home, her garden, her community were her truth. An invitation arrived from her book club, asking her to host. Grace invited her to the winter festival. Liam's oranges kept appearing, a silent promise. Anne didn't know the future, but she knew this. She was no longer the girl who bent to silence. She'd chosen herself, leaving the door open only for those who knocked with humility. Peace wasn't a gift, it was a choice, and she'd chosen well. Anne's story proves that true peace comes from setting boundaries and choosing yourself. Have you ever stood up to family pressure? Share below, hit like if Anne inspired you, and subscribe for more stories of courage.